Hey there guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are doing a commander deck tech on Inferno of the Star Mounts. Now this is from the new D&D set, of course. They did all the legendary dragons. This guy's pretty interesting. He's like all about landing on 20 damage or 20 power to really crunch your opponents. So he's 6 mana, 6/6 dragon, can't be countered, has flying and haste, good stuff. But this is a really weird part. Pay 1 red, he gets +1/+0 to end a turn. When its power becomes 20 this way, it deals 20 damage to any target. So it's not when it's over 20, it has to get to like 19 power, you pay the 1 red, he moves up to 20, trigger, get to deal 20 damage to any target. That's what we're kind of building around. We've got a bit of a Voltron theme going on where we try to buff them up, and a little bit of a dragon sub theme, so we've got a little bit of like, I guess, synergy going on there. It's a very cool commander because you can actually get him up to 20 power, trigger, you can debuff him and then buff him up again and trigger it again in the same turn and maybe kill someone outright for 40 damage. So that's kind of the game plan of this deck. So a couple freebie wins in this deck though. We got Blood Moon and Magus of the Moon, same effect, non-basic lands are mountains. Best case scenario, you play him, god tier deck, multicolor deck in front of you, just can't handle it, they do nothing and you just get a free win. If not, they'll hopefully delay your opponent where they have to play out their basics to the point where they can remove your threats to turn off the mountain conversion basically. So it'll buy you time to get your board presence ready. Or we've got Hellkite Tyrant. We have a lot of artifacts in this deck, so getting to 20 wouldn't be too hard, especially with treasure tokens. Plus, in big multi-way games of Commander, there's artifacts everywhere you can steal. So these are up, these are what buff our Commander. We've got the Sigil here. You can just put X mana into it, it's going to give the creature X+1 that many times. Only downside is every time you equip it, you're removing counters from it. The Strata Scythe, you imprint a basic land from your library. Therefore, as it's equipped to a creature, the creature gets 1/1 for each land of the same name. Mono red, plenty of mountains. Same concept with Black Blade Reforged. It gets +1/+1 for each land you control. Has a cheaper equip cost because it's on our commander, of course. Hopefully, with these kind of cards, your commander's sitting around probably the 15, 17 mark. Pretty easy. Doesn't take much more to buff them up to that 20 point of damage. Commander's play is pretty good too. +3/+3 gets them up there to 9, which if you double up, it gets them to 18. Very close to that 20 damage effect. Plus, you know, pro every color that he's not in his color identity is pretty good, especially for mono red, because blue is your worst nightmare. Then you've got effects like Unleash Fury and Rush of Blood, which literally just double your commander's power. So the trick is get him up to 9 whatever, then play one of these, boom, straight up to 18, pay 2 more mana, hits the 20 mark pretty quick. Granite Grip just buffs based on number of mountains you control, so really good across the length of the game. And you got the Braces, which just doubles up activated abilities on equipped creature, so hopefully gets you a bit quicker with the commander's buffing effect. So not as many cards that bring down your commander's effect, but there's a couple good ones here. You've got the Jitte, which is really good in the fact that the counter stay on it itself rather than the creature, so you can re-equip your commander later on to hopefully bring down another point, so you can go to 19, buff up again to 20 and get the extra hit. Serrated Arrows, you can tap it to put -1 counters on any target creature, again your commander. Or you got Bone Flute, which is kind of never heard of until I saw on Reddit for this commander. Just pay 2, tap, all creatures get -1, -0 to end the turn, but it's enough to get you from 20 back down to 19 to trigger again. If you know any other, like, probably more efficient debuffing cards, let us know. It's kind of hard to find cards that debuff your own creatures, just temporary though, so you can buff up. Yeah, if you know anything, let me know down below. Okay, for the dragon sub theme, Psycho and the Fireblood is pretty much a no-brainer. He has card draw, well, red draw that it is. He can add mana for dragon spells, plus create a ton of dragon tokens. He works well in the deck. You've got the Dragon Speaker Shaman and Dragon Lord Servant, which give your dragons and your commander a reduction in cost. Really good. I love the Leyline Tyrant. Nice and cheap dragon at 4 mana. He lets you keep red mana throughout all your phases and turns, so you can bank it up for your commander. And when he dies, you can sink a ton of mana into him and just burn something dead. Don't really care about that last part, to be honest. I like the saving the mana part for our commander. You've got the Scourge, who lets you deal damage equal to number of dragons you control every time another dragon enters the battlefield. Easy for the deck. Then you got Glorybringer, nice and cheap as well. Flying, haste, has exert. If he attacks and you exert him, just nom 4 damage onto a non-dragon creature your opponent controls. With all the ramp in this deck, which you'll see later on, getting him out on turn 2, turn 3 just to eat up your opponent's early game, love the idea of it. The Crown Scourge is nice and cheap, especially with other reductions. Possibly 1 mana dragon. Big 5/4, can't attack or block, and just 4 more artifacts, which in this deck is plenty. Plus, at the beginning of your end step, create a treasure token for each non-creature token that died this turn. Love it. If there's a big multi-way game, lots of things are dying, hopefully you get tons of treasure tokens. I love the new Obsidian Charm, or I think he's actually quite underrated. Yeah, he's 5 mana for a dragon, 4/4, but he has a built reduction where he costs 1 less for each land your opponent controls that can produce a generic. So he's, in a multiplayer commander game, he's probably just a 2-mana dragon. Plus when he enters the battlefield, he wrecks a non-basic land. Like, in a 1v1, that's pretty scary. And then good old Dragon Master Outcast, you have 6 more lands, you start just popping out 5/5 dragons all day long.
Help me!
So kind of supporting themes, got plenty of removal on the deck because you got to protect your commander, buy time, because you're kind of a combo deck or like a weird strategy, like you're playing your own mini game, got to keep your shit alive basically. A Braid, Lightning Bolt, Chaos Warp, just kill it dead, don't want to know about it, please piss off. You got Soulsfire, which deals damage equal to your creature's power to anything. Now you're in the process of buffing up your commander anyway to get to that number 20. Soulsfire could hit someone for 19, 18, really cripple them. Vandal Blast just to wreck all the artifacts on the board. And we got the Act and Arrow of Devastation as our board wipes. Good thing about Arrow of Devastation, of course all indestructibles off the board, but it deals 5 damage to each other creature in non-Bolas Planeswalker. Most of the dragons are probably like 6/6s like your commander, so your commander can just survive the board wipe. And then I love Pyrohemia, just paying 1 red to deal damage to everything. Dragons tend to be on the chunkier side so they can cop a few hits and hopefully your opponent's stuff just burns to dead as the air lights on fire. Plus your deck has got a lot of ramping going on, so it's a good mana sink when you need it to be. Now we run the Hammer, Lightning Greaves, and the Boots as protection for a commander. The Greaves and the Boots giving Hexproof and Shroud basically. But the Hammer gives it indestructible, and with the Hammer out, other equipment entering the board can go straight onto commander for free. Really good with the Voltron thing we're trying to pull off. We've got Reverberate as kind of a counter for a counter spell because blue players are everywhere. Not for this world, it's a great option for this commander. Only used to protect permanent you control. It costs 7 less if it targets a creature's power 7 or greater to protect it. So your commander 6, pay the 1 mana, your commander goes up to 7. Boom, 1 mana counter spell thanks to this. I love it. And then we got good old Koth the Hammer. He does quite well. Just you can untap a mountain, basically use it for mana again, or it becomes a 4/4 beater. Neg 2, you get red mana for each mountain you control. Really good to get to that 20 power in your commander, just buff them up. And then the Neg 5 ultimate is actually pretty good. Mountains can just ping anything. Like, all his options are good. I would never be sad getting any of them. Now for a bit of a draw theme, good old Faith of Looting, Seize the Spoils, which just gives you treasure tokens too as well as draw. Reforge the Soul, which, my god, Reforge the Soul is like nearly $15. This card used to be $1 all day long. It's commander, man, it's a thing. Endless Atlas, just pay to draw a card if you have a lot of lands the same name. Mono red, mountains are a thing. And then you got Chandra, Torch of Defiance. She's just good all rounder, like, hey, pick an option, you're doing fine. Exile, draw, ready thing, not bad option. Ramp, deal 4 damage to anything. I just take her all day long. Now into the ramp section, this is where we just go quick. We have lots of these one-off, just here's a bit of mana, do something with it. We've got Seething Song, we've got Mana Guides, the Island Crag Feet, Desperate Ritual, Poetic Ritual, Geosurge, and the Vessel. All of these just give you a big chunk of mana to get there really quick. Things I love are the Geosurge. It gives you 7 mana. Just get your commander out on turn 4. Boom, here's my presence, you deal with it. Or just playing any of your dragons way earlier than you should be is your opponent's problem now to deal with. In some cases, even getting the Exerting Dragging out where it can eat other things when it attacks. Like, it's a lot for your opponent to deal with really early on, and it might just be enough to establish that board presence to keep winning the game from there on. You might not even need to use your commander. But you've got things like Braid of Fire, which generate you a ton of mana, but are only usable in upkeep. But of course, you can buff your commander to end a turn. So this enchantment here alone is a bomb in this commander, plus works really well with cards like, I think it's pronounced Bergi, the God of Storytelling. She lets you stockpile mana like the Leyline Tyrant as well. So all that mana doesn't go to waste, you can use it for anything you need. The Soulbright Flamekin might as well say, pay 6 mana, get 8 red back, pretty much. And then like I just said, Bergi, she lets you get mana every time you cast a spell. Your mana doesn't go away through your phases or your turns. And your creatures can boast, which isn't relevant to this deck, sorry. Elena, she just gives you a ton of mana based on the biggest creature entering your battlefield this turn. Which in Dragons, that's a lot of mana, hopefully. Good old Gauntlet of Power and the Cage Sun, just a simple, we're going to pick red, we're going to double up our mana production, which then for your commander is pretty easy to get to that 20 power, no problem. And we've got little Dwarf Shamaneer, he's a pretty good guy. Every time you're just casting instant sorceries or copying, doing whatever you're doing, you're creating treasure tokens, which can be sacked to ramp your commander and buff it up even more. And good old Bonus Heart, just hey, getting lands out your deck is never a bad thing. For mana rocks, just, you know, the normal stuff I pick for commander. Good old medallions, your Soul Ring, your Signet and your Fire Diamond. I would try and lean into things that give you your red mana symbol more than generic, because you need to buff your commander's effect. The banner kind of does a 2-in-1, it gives your commander a power buff and it produces red mana. I do like the Orb of Dragonkind and the Dragon's Horde are very flavorful for the commander. With the Dragonkind, it can produce 2 mana for dragon spells and their relevant abilities, or you can sack it and try and dig for a dragon spell. Just use it as a mana rock for your commander. Hey, like, it's ramp. And then the Horde can be a mana rock for red mana, and it can sack gold counters off itself to draw cards in the late game. Onto the lands, Treasure Vault late game, just sink a ton of mana into it, make a ton of treasure tokens, which in the next turn, you can pump into your commander for a ton of mana, a lot of buff. War Room basically just says pay 1 life and 3 mana, draw a card, and mono red, you're going to take it all day long. Adventus Fair lets you gain life, because you're going to have a lot of artifacts in this deck, plus you can sack it to go and tutor for an artifact put into your hand. I would be getting like Commander's Plate, things like that, high level protection for your commander. Grasping Dunes is a great way to put your commander down 1 point. You can pay 1, sack the Dunes, and put a -1 counter on any creature. Of course, your commander. Get your commander up to 20, put it back down to 19, then buff it back up to 20, get another 20 damage into something. Terrain Generator just lets you play basic lands from your hand for 2 mana. Mono red, we have 27 mountains in this deck, just go nuts. Shrine to Nyx, mono red, Devotion is a thing. You totally could cut this land. It's a good land, but it's $30. If you don't need it, just get rid of it. I love the Sanctum. I think this thing is underrated in Commander. It is a bit of an investment, but it's a land slot that can make your commander indestructible across 2 turns. So the first one makes it a god and gives it a counter, then the next turn you're making it indestructible. You are losing the land though. Or simply just pay the 4 mana and put it onto Bergi, who then will give you a indestructible god who can generate you mana and let you stockpile mana. Like, it's a good land, it hits a few things in this deck quite well. And the Command Beacon to avoid command attacks once or twice. And then, like I said earlier, 27 mountains. So yeah, that's Inferno. I think it's a pretty cool dragon. I like the idea of trying to get up to a number and then trying to stay on and off that number as much as you can. You're trying to balance on there. And every time you land on the 20, boom, 20 damage to anything. That's 2 chunks to opponent's face and they're dead. It's actually a very cool concept. I like it. It's a bit different. Funny enough, I'm a mono red dragon deck with hardly any dragons in it. It's all about feeding in mana and getting to this 20 points of damage. So let me know your thoughts, guys, and have a good one. Catch you later. Thanks for watching the video, guys. If you enjoyed it, give the video a like. Helps out the channel a lot. Please consider subbing. And if there's any commanders you want to see or any ideas on any of the videos, let us know down below, guys. Thank you for your input. To my patrons, I can't thank you guys enough. You guys do mean the world to me. You support my little hobbies as I go along. If there's any of these cool commanders from D&D you want to see, just let us know, eh? Thank you, guys.